Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 1947 cult classic film, Miracle on 34th Street. So this particular original version is hour and a half, very quick, holds my attention, wonderful. There are various iterations since. There was one in the 50s, I think. There was one in the 70s, one in the 80s, or the 90s. I don't know. There's been many versions of Miracle on 34th Street, but can't beat the classic. And what I find interesting is I'm not a big fan of old movies. I give credit where credit is due. I respect and understand where we've come from in regards to cinematography, in regards to storytelling within film, in regards to moving pictures. That's why they're called movies, because it's a picture that moves. So I get it, right? I'm there. I get it. We had silent films back in the 20s, and then there we are 20 years later, end of World War II, 1947 pops out. I mean, technically 2 years after the end of World War II, we get Miracle on 34th Street. So we start out with a Thanksgiving Day parade. And it's just so interesting watching this because I don't really watch this film as a film. How do I explain this? Yes, I watch it as a movie. It's got a linear plot point. It's a great story. The little girl, played by Natalie Wood, rest in peace, starts to then believe in Santa Claus. It's a wonderful story, especially the whole trial of proving Santa Claus is real at the end. Wonderful. But I view it as a historical document. Dare I quote a Galaxy Quest reference? View the historical documents. Because it was literally filmed at a Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So this came out in 47. This had to have filmed the 1946 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and spliced in the characters and stuff, and then had the editing within the year to then be released for the 1947 holiday season. So it's cool watching the crowds of people who are not paid actors, because it was an actual Thanksgiving Day parade that they filmed at the beginning of this film. It's really neat seeing that. It's neat seeing this as a historical document of people in Manhattan in November of 1946. It's just rare. You don't really see that kind of stuff unless it's like a news article or some kind of document within, not document, documents of paper, some kind of documentation, there you go, a documentary of that time period. So it's neat seeing the history aspect of it, how people lived, regular people lived in that time, watching the parade, watching the clowns, watching the balloons, watching the floats. It's neat. So the premise of this is that the Santa that was hired is drunk, and there's a old guy who happens to be there at that exact moment, telling the woman who's running it that her Santa's drunk and he'll gladly volunteer, and then he winds up being hired for the Macy's Santa Claus. And we just talked about Macy's Santa Clauses being poignant within Christmas films moving forward, and this is where it all comes down to. So it's pretty cool how it goes hand in hand. Macy's goes hand in hand with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and despite the fact that a lot of the stores have closed within regards to being anchor stores and malls, a lot of them are still open. So what happens next within this particular conglomerate department store that won't leave us ever? My only complaint within all of this film, and I love this film, is that the whole premise of Mr. Macy, the CEO of Macy's, is the one running Macy's at the time period. No. The Strauss family ran Macy's for quite some time, and the Strausses actually died in the Titanic sinking back in 1912. So if the 1912 sinking of the Titanic ended that particular thing, Mr. Macy was not a leading factor of Macy's in the 1940-ish. So the fiction is off a bit, but it's fine. That's the only gripe I have. So within this film, you have Santa Claus, and he's meeting the younger daughter of the woman who he was hired by, who doesn't believe in Santa Claus. So it's now trying to prove that he's real to her. And it's a matter of trying to prove that he's real to everybody else, because now he's being put on trial after, he's being deemed insane for being an old man going around telling people that he's actually Santa Claus, even though he's named Kris Kringle. How do you prove Santa Claus is real? And it all comes down to the post office, how the post office is a government agency, and the post office recognizes this particular man as Kris Kringle because they just delivered 50,000 letters to him in the courtroom, and therefore the state of New York cannot dispute that fact, and that this man is in fact Santa Claus is in fact Kris Kringle, Father Christmas, because the United States government deemed it so. So I just love that whole roundabout kind of like the lawyer, Mr. Gailey, saying, kind of, not verbatim saying, but saying to the New York State attorney, you want to play this game? We'll play this game. Bring it. And he brings all of the letters. I love it. I love that courtroom scene. I just love it. I love when Tommy Jr. gets up on and saying that his daddy would never lie to him, and his daddy's the district attorney of New York, trying to prove that this man is not Santa Claus. It's just very entertaining, and it's a wonderful believe kind of, just because you don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist kind of a thing. And it's neat. It's a neat conversation piece. It's very well done. Most old films, and why I can't really watch a lot of old films, is that they make me tired because I find them boring, because they're very over dramatic and they're very stage play kind of drama pieces, right? But then randomly you'll have like the 1939 Wizard of Oz film, right? Is great because it doesn't feel like it's a play. I mean, yeah, it's all sets and they're all singing and dancing, but it's mesmerizing. It's visually stunning to look at, as well as entertaining within the character development in regard, a horrible representation of the book compared to the actual film. But the 1939 Wizard of Oz film is a great old film. 1947 Miracle on 34th Street is a great old film because it doesn't feel like a play. It feels like you're watching these people have these conversations. It feels like you're watching this character development come into play. We're like, well, maybe I do believe in Santa Claus, and maybe Santa Claus is real. Things. It's just neat. It's neat seeing that. It's neat being able to see that because I'm not bored. I don't fall asleep. I don't need something to distract myself while I watch it, as I normally do with other things. I just really like this film. I've only seen it a couple times. I've not seen it religiously. I don't watch it every Christmas season. But it was on my docket. We watched it. Brought back good memories. One of my mom's like goals is to sit in a bay window on the parade route for Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in a hotel, to live out a Natalie Wood kind of fantasy that Natalie Wood got to do it, in the beginning of this film, and my mom's always wanted to do that. We've gone to the parade once. We stood in the crowd. It was not pleasant because it was so cold. One of these days we'll watch it from the window on whatever avenue, because they change the parade route all the time. So we'll see. We'll see when that happens. Not Macy's. Miracle, there we go, on 34th Street, 1947 cult classic film. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.